Good morning. My name is Gerard Henry. I'm a registered independent in the state of Georgia, a former host for Black Entertainment Television, and I'm standing here with some tremendous leaders in the Georgia state capitol. Leaders who represent Christian values and very concerned as it relates to this current runoff election. One thing about the African American church we know is the African American church develops powerful leaders. And there's concerns that's been expressed already in the media from conservative Black Christian leaders concerning Reverend Raphael Warnock, and you'll be hearing from them today and some of those concerns, as well as Jon Ossoff. Now, I've chosen to be independent because I believe both parties need to earn the right for my vote. But I have to say, what I've seen concerning Jon Ossoff, who's very quiet on many issues, is that's not someone that I could personally endorse or support. And concerning Reverend Raphael Warnock and the stances that he has been adamant about that is clearly anti-biblical, goes against my values. And so I want to appeal particularly to Black Georgians as well as Georgians at large who share Christian values, is to vote your values. Don't be moved by just headlines and creative speaking. Don't be moved by someone who just matches the color of your skin tone, because you're a better person than that, I believe. I believe you're an intellectual person. I believe you're a person of greater substance than just being moved by your emotions. And so you're going to hear from some tremendous speakers today that will bring more highlights to some of the things that are concerning and that will impact the outcome of our futures, which is what I want to appeal to you to look at. Not just the immediate, but what are their decisions and what do they stand for, and how does that impact the future of our nation and really of your generation? So our first speaker today will be Reverend Dean Nelson. He's Executive Director of the Human Coalition Action. And following him, you will hear from Bishop Garland Hunt from the Father's House.
Thank you. The great Frederick Douglass, abolitionist and minister, once said, "I have one great political idea. The best expression of it I have found in the Bible. It is in substance, righteousness exalts a nation. Sin is a reproach to any people." A few days ago, we sent a letter to Reverend Raphael Warnock. And this letter was signed by over 25 ministers, most of whom are here in Georgia, many of those signers behind me today. That number has swelled to over 50 people who have signed on to this letter that basically encourages Raphael Warnock to change his extreme position on the subject of abortion. Reverend Warnock supports abortion up to the 9th month. He is also stated that he is supported by Planned Parenthood, and if he is elected, would certainly, along with other Democrats, vote to reverse the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits taxpayer funding for abortion. His views are out of step with the Black community, his views are out of step with Christian faith, and his views are out of step with most Georgians. I think it's also important to note that his views are out of step even with his own political party. This is especially true of the importance of religion within the Democratic Party. It has been stated and written about that African Americans are becoming the most conservative constituency within the Democrat Party. This is especially true regarding the issues of religion and abortion. It has been stated and written about that 1/3 of Black Democrat primary voters believe that abortion should be illegal, compared with just 3% of white Democrat primary voters. This is why we support the work of Democrats for Life. The heinous position of Reverend Warnock is also mirrored by his Democrat colleague, Jon Ossoff. They show that they have little regard for Black lives and only are pursuing Black votes. We are urging all Georgians, as they cast their votes in this critical runoff election, to vote their biblical values of righteousness and justice. I work for Human Coalition Action, which has a women's clinic here in downtown Atlanta. We invite Reverend Warnock to come and to visit to see that there are more alternatives than just abortion. We're encouraging all Georgia voters to vote your values in this upcoming runoff election. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Aubrey Shines. I'm senior pastor and bishop of G2G Ministries in Tampa, Florida, where I shepherd about 23 different ethnic groups every single Sunday. I'm also the founder of Conservative Clergy of Color that also has representation even here in the great state of Georgia. We've heard a lot about Mr. Warnock and his beliefs as it relates to abortion. Well, not a lot more can really be said other than let's not forget it was Margaret Sanger, the eugenicist, who was a white racist, hatred of black people, that said the only way that she could have success, and that would be to find ministers that would help her cultivate this idea that blacks needed to be eliminated. She has found her prophetic arm in the life of Mr. Warnock. There's other issues that Mr. Warnock do not represent, not just here in the state of Georgia. He does not represent main view ideas as it relates to biblical orthodoxy. When he stands with Dr. Jeremiah Wright, whom I know being a Chicago native, someone that believes in black liberation theology. In other words, whites are going to always be wrong in that, other than that they are no more than a conduit to get them from one place to another. Mr. Warnock does not represent the views of any biblical orthodoxy because he is also anti-Semitic. For him to be anti-Semitic means that he despises someone like me, and especially my biological mother that happens to be Jewish. He is against Israel, and he's not just that individual that we could just coin into particular operatives. He also stands against our military. He has made numerous accounts that the military is something that people should always avoid. Let me remind you, Mr. Warnock, it was military men, hundreds of thousands of white men that shed their blood to ransom the state of Georgia and other southern states because of your party, the Democratic Party, the party that made sure that blacks did not have access to the 14th, 15th, and the 16th Amendment. So let's not forget that when we talk about Mr. Warnock and Jon, we're not talking about two separate individuals. These are individuals that have been shaped by a perspective and a narrative that this nation has rid itself of. And for us to go backwards and simply elect someone based upon the color of their skin, then we would have unfortunately aborted the ideal of Dr. Martin Luther King when he reminded us from a biblical narrative that people should not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Mr. Warnock is just not wrong. Jon is just not wrong for Georgia. They're wrong, period. And we stand against them in this effort to make sure that they never dawn the face of our great Senate. Thank you.
If that's not a mic drop, I don't know what is. But we want to thank Bishop Shines. This does conclude our press conference here at the state capitol. And again, we encourage you to, in good conscience, vote your values. Thank you.